Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the next edition of our In the Know webinars brought to you by our good friends at Max. Today's topic is on how to rebuild food sales in venues. And as almost every one of you would know, in the club industry and in our hospitality industry generally, food and beverage sales are still quite down compared to what they were pre-COVID. And I think part of that is because of a lack of confidence by some of our patrons and concern about their own health and safety. So part of our mission has to be how do we rebuild that customer confidence, and how do we get them feeling that our venues are safe, that they can come back and enjoy your great hospitality, your great food and beverage and other facilities and services in your venues. We've got 4 outstanding speakers for you today, and I'll be introducing each of them separately, but the 4 speakers we have Toni Clarke, who's the Director of RT Hospitality and would be well known by many of you in the industry. Steve Sid, who's the CEO of Catering Headquarters, who provides a number of provides the catering services at a number of our venues in New South Wales. Francis Loughran, who's the Managing Director of Future Food and has enormous experience in the food and catering industry. And we'll be introducing a new partner to us today from Merris Food Equipment. Michael Brick will be speaking about their services and how they can assist in rebuilding your food services. Now, for those of you who have not been with my webinars before, at the bottom of your screen is a Q&A box. If you have a question to ask any of the presenters, please use that Q&A box and type in your question. And at the end of that presenter's presentation, I will ask those questions if there are any to be asked. So make sure you make use of that Q&A. Each presenter is willing to receive questions on this topic. So firstly, I will take my slide down and invite our first presenter, Toni Clarke, to load her slides. Toni, I've known Toni probably more than 20 years, and she's been working in the club industry and in hospitality industry across Australia for many, many years. And I'm delighted that Toni's been able to join us today and share some of her experiences and her knowledge about the international food scene. So welcome to you, Toni Clarke.
Thank you, Gary, and I look forward to just giving a brief presentation. My role is really to give you a little bit of a global overview. As a member of the Food Services Society International, which is FCSI, I am party to a lot of shared information through our website, and that keeps me in touch with what's happening globally, as well as my own overseas contacts. I'm based in Queenstown in New Zealand, so we're a bit special over here in the way that we've been able to cope with this, the COVID pandemic. So I will include New Zealand in that global overview. But just briefly, the global impact, I'll just move to my first slide. The global impact, over 2 million cases, of which 4.5 have been fatal. The seesawing restriction levels have continued to impact tourism and hospitality, in particular in the UK and Europe. They're opening and closing. Even now they're closing cities and closing restaurants and closing bars at 10 o'clock at night. So it's all over the place there. The pre-COVID, there was a concern for health was up 16% over the last 3 years. And clearly it's escalated dramatically. As Gary said, one of the key factors at the moment is people are concerned about their own health and security when they're out in the public arena. The main thing impacting at the moment, I think, is consumers are very cautious about spending, but they are desperate to return to some sense of normalcy. Is when you see people bursting out of their bubble and then being rapidly told to get back into it again. In the USA, of course, is still, over 200,000 deaths now. Mr. Trump seems to be surviving. He must be drinking his bleach. But in the USA, the restaurants there were faced with only, even now, 25% of their seating capacity is what they're allowed to have internally. And cafes have all had to reinvent their business. The initial focus in the States was very much became takeout, delivery, expanded to like an in-venue pantry. So there were grab and go packaged meals, very much engaged in the community, setting up commissary kitchens, feeding the workers, feeding the marginalized, delivering meals to people that couldn't get out or that were medically challenged. They've had to review their operating expenses. So basically a line by line review of every operating expense, renegotiating their rents, their leases, their utilities, their insurances, their consumables. In a lot of cases, they've simply shut the door, rolled down the shutter and went into the bunker to try and sit it out, very slowly reopening. The budgets they've had to do have to fit the new reality. So they're dealing with lower sales volumes, reduced menus, fewer staff, and of course, patrons that are still cautious about going out. One initiative that's just started in New York was the introduction of Open Restaurants program. And that's been credited with saving 90,000 jobs to date, and it's only been open a couple of months. They've closed off streets to create dining precincts, and they provided funding for sidewalk and roadside pods. So they've literally built pods on the road with secure concrete barriers, etc. And they're allowed to use that road space out the front of their restaurant. Another thing they've done is they've joined with their neighbours. If the neighbours are a retail store but don't have restaurant space, they've expanded their restaurant sidewalks along in front of the neighbours as well. I think one thing that in the US they've been fortunate, the same as in Europe, where they've gone through the summer. So the alfresco dining opportunity has certainly assisted them to some extent, whereas we're going into our summer now, so hopefully it's going to assist us. This slide is from a company called Data Global, who did a webinar presentation on the 7th of July for FCSI members. It actually is still available on the FCSI website, which is fcsi.org, and you can go to the webinar and you can actually review this webinar. And it's based on what we call EMI, which is Europe, the Middle East and Africa. And obviously the UK, so it takes in that whole European spectre. So on that, there is some optimism. A lot of consumers say they're not realizing they're not actually over the worst, and clearly the US is showing very increased concern. But if you look at that chart, it showed the extremely concerned. Australia's in there at 36% of people in Australia are extremely concerned about the global outbreak. But 42% of Australians expect the situation to improve in their country. That was in the next month, which would have been August. So clearly we're coming forward. China has the most optimism at 80%, and the USA was down to 34%. So it just gives you a little bit of a snapshot of what's happening globally. A little bit hard to read, but basically this is showing the decline in operator sales by region. And again, this does include Australasia. So if you look at the Australasian chart, the fourth one down with 13.08% decline. That's in the first two quarters, so to Q2 20. And the overall decline is 13.22% across the whole of the hospitality. So it does actually break that down into accommodation, retail, travel, etc. This slide I thought was very interesting because it actually is more about the health and the well-being, and also the brand initiatives, and I see clubs as brands, and also the consumption guidance from brands during the pandemic. And it's been consistent right across the reporting periods and into the third quarter. I was talking to some of my UK contacts the day before yesterday, and they're saying that they really are struggling to try and keep things settled and to keep people settled over there. But one of the key things that's come out of this is the personal health and well-being is at 55%, and the news about the initiatives adopted by the brands during the period is at 50%. So, you know, they're not really interested in about the updates about new product launches sitting down there at the bottom, and even the general entertainment to distract me at 26%. So clearly health and well-being is extremely critical to our consumers. On this slide, there's some photographs about socially conscious, so community spirit. So really, when you look at the key factors in each one, the community spirit is very important, and it needs to be on display with packages and meal deals, etc. Takeout meals having a facelift, so certainly Instagram-worthy takeout. And not just takeout, but home delivery and all sorts of packaged meals. Local eateries developed into temporary grocery stores, offering residents pantry staples. And it's interesting because here in Queenstown, several of our wineries have actually expanded to have deli pantries in their winery cellar door. So everybody's looking at ways that they can increase their margin, increase their product range. So if they've been a lunch restaurant, they're opening for dinner 2 nights a week. So every little opportunity to examine the business has been critical. The chains very much have been looking at meal kits as well, and they've upped the ante in terms of what they're offering, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But definitely the menu has gone into this health factor as well. And one thing that we've seen globally is that the regulations have become a little bit relaxed about delivering alcohol. We have deliveries here, like Amersfield do a package which is called Amersfield at Home, and they'll even deliver wine from their wine list. And Millbrook is doing the same. Millbrook took a different initiative. They actually did meals that were sous vide, cryovac packed, lamb shanks, and they came in a beautiful package with little instructions as to how to cook them, and you would do the boil in the bag trick or something for 20 minutes, and you had literally a restaurant meal for $22, enough for 2 people, if you were prepared to finish it at home. So it's taking on those initiatives to let your food grow. One thing that sticks out is the Generation Z. You know, they want companies to very much make clear what their values are. What values do they stand for? This little image is Shake Shack, and it says Shake Shack stands for something good. So with your vision, it's the same thing. You need to promote your values through your vision. They saw a rise in sales of 33%, 33.6 between 2017 and 2018. So it's not a new initiative for them, but it is continuing to make clear what their value is. As I said, the health issues, organic credentials. So what one comment is that what is considered a true trend will in fact stay true and will continue and come back. If it's eased off, globally they're saying those trends will come back again. 42% of global consumers like the term organic. Of course, in amongst that, we have the increase in vegan and paleo and all of the health diets, the gluten-free, etc. But they're very much looking for local. So it's local support, local food, local suppliers, and emphasizing that local quality. Things like beverage focus on premium and craft style. 58% think they're experts or connoisseurs in the products they buy. It's probably more than that now, I would think. But definitely, you know, the trends will come back, and they are continuing to be the main trends. I quite like this next little slide is 7-Eleven. So they actually introduced this range of kombuchas into the 7-Eleven stores, in particular in Asia. This has been a tremendous success for them. So they've gone away from the standard soft drinks, Cokes and Pepsis and Schweppes, etc., and they put in these organic juices. So if 7-Eleven can do something like this, I'm sure our grab-and-go fridges in our cafes could do something similar. So what are you going to do, or what have they done, and what do you need to do? And I guess these are my my top 8. Rethink your food offer. You might have to look at a smaller menu, seasonal offer, and casual dining. So the menu may even change, a different menu for lunch, a different menu for dinner, or a small core menu. One of the most important things they found is that you have to maintain your core comfort foods. So it's the availability. So if you go to somewhere all the time and your favorite thing, you go there for your favorite thing and it's not on the menu, you'll be upset because you've gone looking for reassurance, looking for an experience, and they don't have it. So, it's almost your chicken schnitzel type item. So make sure that you maintain your comfort. Social distancing obviously is going to continue. Here we are on level 1. I went out for a coffee this morning and it's track and trace the COVID sign on the window everywhere you go in Queenstown. So you literally don't go anywhere that you're not tracking into your phone. The hygiene, the sanitizers are still out. Table spacing is still in place. They've reduced some tables to provide more space. Pods, Amersfield lunch the other day, they've actually built hot houses, just the frames, and with just a roof on the top, so it acts for the weather as well, but limit capacity. So they can do a group of 6, 8, 10 in their own pod, providing service to them. And when all this is over, the executive chef's going to transfer them to the garden for tomatoes. Reservation policies, very much 2 sittings, staggered bookings. A restaurant in Sydney, Fire Door, has a capacity normally of about 80. They're doing 40 a sitting, and they've split that 40 into 20 at 5:30, 20 at 6 o'clock, 20 at 8, and 20 at 8:30. So they're staggering their bookings as well. More load on the kitchen, but it is actually working for them. And they featured not so long ago still on Netflix, Chef's Table Barbecue. And within 4 days, they received 2,400 reservations in 4 days from when that was broadcast. So clearly, getting out there and making yourself known is working for them. One of the things that has been an improvement, and I think hopefully clubs are going to continue with this. If they haven't put it in, they seriously should be considering it. And I'm sure probably Steve's going to talk something about this as well, in terms of table service or meal delivery to the table. So, and one person looking after a particular area in a restaurant. Instead of queuing, and you order and then queuing to pay and queuing to pick up your meals, let's at least move forward. Improve the attitude to waste. Sorry, that small dog in the background, didn't know he was here, chasing a bird. Waste is critical now in restaurants in terms of we should not have waste in a restaurant business. Careful buying, careful preparation. Using technology, cashless. In China, there is no cash now anymore at all. Everything is all done through the phone. The QR code to show that they don't have COVID is in the phone. They pay for everything, and of course the government knows where they are and everything they're doing at every moment of the day. Food delivery and track and trace. And my last 8 is, please pay your suppliers, especially local. Small businesses, if you're a small business, recognize they're also a small business. If you want those businesses to continue, you have to pay them. Now is not a time to be racking up debts. So then I guess from a club's point of view, again, it's promote to your club's community vision, drive your loyalty. You are in a perfect position with a database as a club, as a centre of community, to really drive the loyalty and show how much you can look after your patrons and your staff. Local, I just can't emphasize enough how much you need to look after the local business, because they are the ones that are concerned. Communicate with your patrons and your staff. Cabrevale Diggers actually rang every single member, and then they consistently rang all of the members over the age of 65 to make sure that they were okay, and they were delivering meals to people that couldn't get out to get a meal. So, you know, the communication has really worked for them, and I think other clubs could learn from that. The art of hospitality, I think, is more important than ever. People are looking for comfort. They want atmosphere. They want some escapism. They want some delicious food. They want to be entertained. So you need to strike a balance that delivers a return to positivity, mental healthiness, community connections, and support. What diners want above all is an experience. And this last slide I just absolutely love. This is Burger King. I'm sure you can recognize that. They're social distancing by way of crowns. And the Whopper with triple onions that keeps others away from you. So a little bit of fun. So for me to finish, I think the main thing is be brave, be safe, take some risks, but make sure you've looked at your business, and most of all, have some fun. That's all from me.
Thank you very much, Toni. I have got one question that's been asked, and that is the source of your data. Where you quoted quite a few of your statistics there. Can you tell us where that data was gathered from?
It's a company called Global Data, which is in the US. So it's www.globaldata.co.uk. And FCSI, which is fcsi.org, D-O-R-G, are the primary sources of that information. And if anybody wants to email me, I can also give them some ideas of where to research. You know, the top 50 restaurants is going digital and things like that. So I can give them some websites for things they might like to have a look at.
Thank you, Toni. As I've said to our presenters, at the end of the all the presentations, I'll be putting up a slide with each presenter's email address and mobile phone number. So if you do want to follow up with any of today's presentations, you'll have the contact details to be able to do that. Thanks again, Toni, for a very comprehensive presentation. I now am going to ask for Steve Sid to join to load up his slides. Steve is the catering manager, catering contractor for a number of our clubs, particularly the Castle Hill group that I have familiarity with, and is a very experienced caterer in the New South Wales club industry. So I'm glad to have Steve's input today. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you very much, Gary. Good afternoon, everybody. As Gary said, my name is Steve Sid, Managing Director of Catering HQ. Catering HQ, just give a bit of a snapshot, was established in 1990.
Sorry, can I just interrupt? Toni, can you put yourself on mute, please? Sorry, Steve.
You're right. So Catering HQ was established in 1996, and currently we provide a range of consulting services, catering for functions, and obviously clubs is our big focus at the moment. Currently we've got 6 venues under our belt. We've got Moorebank Sports Club, Castle Hill RSL Club and their group, which is Club Parramatta and Linwood Country Club, and also West Ashfield Leagues Club and the Lantern Club. So 6 clubs currently under the Catering HQ banner. COVID's certainly been an interesting time for us and for many out there. And I just wanted to give you a bit of an outline where our position was pre-COVID and what brought us to where we are today. So pre-COVID, Catering HQ, across all of our venues, we had 19 various different dining concepts, 23 event spaces, and we employed in excess of 330 staff. As of today, we've reduced and consolidated the business significantly, so we've only got the 12 dining concepts. We still maintain the 23 event spaces, but obviously under the current restrictions, we're very limited to what we can use and the capacities of those function spaces. And we have dropped our employees down to 116. So again, a significant drop in staff numbers. How we dealt with COVID, pre-COVID, obviously we had a full menu of 41 menu items on that menu. And then obviously when COVID hit, we went to a limited menu, and that's how we closed late March with having a limited menu across all of our venues. 1st of June, when we decided to reopen all of our venues, we reopened with a limited menu. And then from the 1st of July, we made a decision to relaunch back to our full menu. And I'll talk you through why we made that decision and where we sit today across our venues. And I thought it was lunchtime and I wanted to give you some food shots to make you a little bit hungry, to show the style of food that we do across our venues, to open up your appetite a little bit. So we decided to go from our limited menu to a full menu. A lot of our venues said, why are we doing that? Our decision was that we wanted to give people a reason to come to our venues. We ran with our limited menu for quite some time, and we felt that our consumers, our customers, the members of the club, who frequent our restaurants, they come daily, they come weekly, they come fortnightly. It got to a point where they were getting tired of seeing that limited menu. So we made a conscious decision that we said, okay, let's run with our full menu. And we did go with our full launched menu, and that had 40 menu items on there. And to today, we still have those menus in place. So 40 menu items. It gave people a reason to come to our venues. It gave them a choice. It gave them a variety. And because they, as I said, they frequent our dining room so often, they could come during the week and have something very easy and simple and basic, but they could come on the weekends and have something which was a little bit more elaborate. So we, on our menu, we do have signature menu items, as well as our basic, your chicken sneakers, which is the old favorites. But the way we designed this menu is we went back 3 to 4 years of data, and we looked at what those top sellers were. We looked at what people frequently bought, what were our top SKUs, our top PLU menu items, and we created the menu, and that's what we call it today, we call it our favorite menu. We went through and we chose all the favorites that people loved over the years, and we created the menu around our favorites. It's the comfort, it's the familiarity of people coming to our venues, and without trying to be too bespoke and too out of the box, we gave them what people wanted. As Tony said it earlier, our chicken sneaky is still our #1 seller. You've got to have it on the menu. Our fish and chips, our market fish, is still our number 2 seller, and we've got to have that on our menu. But we introduced other dishes that were very popular over the years, like our confit of duck and our pork bellies and our lamb shoulders, fresh salads and pastas. Your Caesar salad is still a very popular salad option, and we put that back on the menu. So we went that, and that's where we created our menu today. As well as implementing the full menu, we wanted to attract people and give them a reason. And we knew that people were going to come out of COVID and come back to their venues, and people are more dollar conscious. So we introduced midweek specials. So your Monday to Friday, we introduced our lunch specials, which was only a small snippet, 5 items for lunchtime. That's Monday to Friday. Our typical dinner specials, we do 12 inches for $12, a pizza special on a Monday night. We do kilo wings on a Tuesday night. This club favorite, which is a steak special on a Wednesday night, and a Parmigiana night on a Thursday night. We gave back to our members what they used to come to their clubs for, and their good old club favorites. Our full menu was still available in those days, but we gave them that reason to come to our venues. Kids eat free to bring the families back. We wanted to see the families return back to their favorite clubs, and that's why we introduced the Kids Eat Free Monday to Wednesday. So we really focus on the full menu, the favorites menus, and obviously the midweek specials. We know that our consumers were becoming more price sensitive. So without, increasing the price points, we came in with our menu at a reasonable price point where it was comfortable for our consumers to come to our venues, and they could still frequent to our clubs. Rather than just coming once a week, we now see them coming on a daily basis. They come for lunch, they come for dinner. They might come early in the week with their families, or on the weekends with their friends, and the spend per head increases over the weekend because they're coming out for a special occasion. The other thing we focus on is we like launching our menu with the seasons, and we've continued to do that. So from the 1st of July, we relaunched our menu, our full menu after COVID, our limited menu. And then we've just launched our new spring and summer menu to get us through over the next quarter, over October, November, December, and early into the new year. So making sure that we are changing those menus with the seasons to keep the menu fresh. And as I said, it's more about giving people a reason to choose our venues over other venues that are still running with limited menus. People are choosing our venues because there is variety and there's a large choice for them to choose off the menu. Some of the trends that we really introduced on the current menus and then with the current trends is definitely, as again Toni alluded to earlier, plant-based products, vegan products, gluten-free has become a very big market for us across all of our venues and very consistent across of our 6 clubs. So things like our jackfruit, we've got a jackfruit burger, having a variety of vegan options on the menu and actually marking them on the menu so people know that it is a plant-based product, it is a vegan product. Gluten-free, we have a wide range of gluten-free products. We do gluten-free pastas, we do gluten-free pizzas. All of our sauces that are served with our protein are all gluten-free. As a standard, all of our sauces are gluten-free. So really focusing on those special dietary requirements, to make, again, our consumers more comfortable to choose our venue over any other venue. With our function events, we had to be quite strategic around those events. We had to remove all of our buffet menus, our shared menus, our grazing boards, a lot of those things that we took a lot of pride in presenting and, on display. So we refocused on all of our function packages and consolidated them. So things were now served in more individual boxes to the client. So our corporate events, rather than having platters of sandwiches and platters of fruits, everything is now served in individual boxes and provided to the clients. We've gone, a little bit fancy with our, slider boxes, our bao buns. All of our individual boxes now, we have different themes around them, and it's proven to be extremely popular with our corporate market. Canapes, obviously we can't have people mingling and standing, so we now serve our canapé menu on an individual plate to our guests. So we actually, because people still want that variety of canapes, especially with the celebrations of life and weights. So we now do them more individually plated and we present them to each person individually. We had to redesign all of our corporate packages, our wedding market, our wedding packages, our wake packages. We've reconfigured them all to suit the current restrictions that are in place. And we're also reaching out to potential clients. With the current restrictions, we've been proactive. We've got our events team actually reaching out to our database and actually reaching out to them and asking them to book in their favourite dates. And it's a non-commitment. They don't have to pay a deposit. They don't have to sign any terms and conditions, but it gives them the opportunity to save the date. So when those restrictions are lifted, we want to know that our booking diary is already full. So we really have focused around a lot of our customizing the food around what suits and what people are after. And as I said, it really comes back down to people wanting their favourites and feeling comfortable at our venues. So that's where we're at with the catering across all of our 6 clubs. That's me, a very, very quick snapshot.
Well, thank you very much, Steve. That's very interesting and very comprehensive. And yes, you've had to face quite a lot of challenges, as all food and beverage managers in our venues have had to face in the last few months. And you've certainly come up with some excellent solutions there and some good ideas for the industry to take on board. So thank you very much. I have no questions from anyone for you, Steve. So if you can take your slides down, and I'll then invite our next presenter, who is Frances Loughran from Future Food. And Frances, if you want to load your slides up. We've had Frances speak at a couple of our conferences in the last few years, and he's always been both entertaining and very informative. And he works with quite a number of our clubs, our member clubs, in helping give advice on their food preparations and menus and in layout of restaurants, etc. So I'm very happy to have Frances here. Frances, have you got your slides ready?
Yep, ready to go. There we are. Can you see them?
Not yet.
Oh, right. Okay. Just share the screen. Can you see them now?
Nope.
No. Okay. Sorry about that. Can you see them now?
No.
No.
Still not up.
Sorry, I'll just put on the shared screen. Okay, can you see them now?
No.
Okay, apologies, I've just done a shared screen.
There. Yes.
Oops, there we are. Now?
Yes.
Good. Sorry.
Excellent. Well done. Thank you, Francis. Off you go.
Good. Good. Okay, first of all, Toni, thank you, and Steve. I will be touching on many points that you spoke about, but Steve, I must give credit to the energy that you've put into thinking about the customer, everything to do with the change factors to bring people back again, because as the headline of my slide says, putting food first. Food is the social glue that we all come together in business, family, friends, celebrations. It's about bringing people together, and clubs have got an amazing history of doing that. We work on various projects around the world, throughout Australia and New Zealand, and it's all about people sitting around a table in a restaurant or a cafe. Now, the world has been turned upside down when it comes to hospitality. We've had to reduce the social interaction. We've had to think differently about the physical spaces. Clubs are no different. Shopping centre management are sitting in their offices today, working out how they're going to do the seating plans for their food courts, cafe courts, rooftops. You've got people in airport lounges working out how they're going to open up the airports again and look at the social distancing for queuing, for sitting in an airport lounge or sitting in a cafe within an airport. So the challenges that the clubs are faced with are the same challenges that many other food and beverage outlets are about. Factors that are really important to consider are the age group of your members, and that age group will have a certain effect on the way, or certain influence on the way people think about going out and socially mingling, because they are conscious. Some of our senior members of our clubs and society will think twice about how they can mingle in certain places in order to protect themselves from the madding crowd. The reduced customer count, again, we've got to look at the number of people coming into our venues and how we control that. We know that in New South Wales, it's 10 people at a maximum. And again, Victoria, we've got the shutdown at the moment, so we're still going through Melbourne in a lockdown. In country Victoria, we've got 10 people, again, in one restaurant setting. But again, a lot of people in country Victoria, in cafes and restaurants and small food operations, have really thought outside the box. They have started appetito, which is just an antipasta at 4 o'clock, their first meal at 5:30, the next setting at 7, and the next setting at 8:30. So you've now got 4 meal times, which you might have had in 2 settings in the dinner period. Obviously, technology is going to play a bigger and larger role as we go forward with contactless menus. Some restaurants, as we know now on the website, are really communicating. Pre-book your table, book your party in with your telephone number, confirm your details, make your payment in advance for your food as per your chosen menu, and you only receive 1 bill at the end, a contactless bill based upon a credit card payment, which is really for your beverages as you depart. We have to understand the customer. The customer has gone through a lot of new changes, queuing distances, social distances, enter, don't enter, walk forward, don't walk forward, even going to your local pharmacy. The regulations have changed, and that's not the same level of expectation which you get in a hospitality outlet. And as Toni correctly said, we're in the business of hospitality, and we have to go back to those first principles to make sure we plan that. So the change in customer behavior is reflected in a level of fear. We have to adopt our technology. We have to adopt our systems and procedures. Now, there are many great things that are happening all over the world, and I just read about Pentridge prison site in Melbourne, which has been turned into a modern living precinct, is going to open up an open-air cinema from now until the end of summer 2021. You're looking at open-air cinema in clubs and restaurants. This is the open-air cinema in New York at the Hudson Yards, where they, basically because of restrictions in the food court and the restaurants, they want to give open-air dining. And with open-air dining, they can match that up with some entertainment in the form of open-air cinemas. That will allow people to have a glass of wine, they can have finger food, they can have ice cream, they can have a beer. So there's lots of ideas in the open-air arena. And again, we can see that in clubs, restaurants, and again, as long as open-air spaces are well managed. Going back 4 months ago, some of the capital cities of Europe opened up their plazas, opened up their streets. That's fine if they're managed, but you don't want those local residents to wake up the next morning with beer bottles in their garden, broken glass on the street, and cats and dogs pulling the bins apart. So go and read the reviews of open air spaces. They have to be managed. But again, you've got projects in all of our clubs where you've got beautiful ocean terrace at Harbour Diggers. Looked at the website, the video. These organizations, these clubs have really thought about how do we make these spaces work for our members and make them feel safe and welcome, and that's important. There's so many things you can do in the open air as we go into spring, the summer, and then the autumn period, which is beautiful in our eastern seaboard right up until April. You've got pop-up festivals of food trucks. Some of the clubs on the Murray River have been doing food festivals for years, up at Machuca and Mulwala and all of the places where you can have outdoor events in the evening. You've got deliveries, you've got delivery service. I just looked at the delivery menus and the pickup menus of Bankstown Sports Club as I was reviewing the club activities over the last week. You've got curbside pickup. Order your food at the club. You've got a set menu. There's no delivery charge on it. Come and pick it up from the curbside. It's a source of revenue, keeping the team employed, working on menus that are easy packaged and well presented and can be taken home and heat and eat. Remember that social distancing is here to stay. At the minute, there's no finishing line for COVID. We look what's happening in the UK and Ireland. And again, the Irish Prime Minister said, after 2 drinks, there's no COVID. So we've got to be very careful going forward. The students last week went back to the universities. Again, back in the bar situation, back in the union situation, back in the club situation, have a couple of drinks and the distances. So we need to remember the protocols of safety, and we need to communicate those. We need to understand, as was mentioned earlier, we've got a database of patrons. We can communicate with them in their language of origin. We can communicate with them in text messages, phone calls. We can talk to them via the internet. We can connect with each of our market segments and align a product and a price and a message to them. And look at each of those guests and look at their age group and ask yourself, am I clearly getting an understanding of how hesitant group number 1 is? Prefer to stay at home, possibly get some food delivered, but do not want to mix with anybody that would put me in a dangerous situation. Group number 2, safety first. Will dine out, but want contactless. Book in advance, pay in advance, enjoy the level of service, but after that, go straight home again. And then, of course, you'll get the diners we all know about from our Crossroads pub in Sydney. Just get in there, have a few drinks, don't care about anything. But overall, people are prepared to go out and spend money if the environment presents that. How are we changing, both in Australia, New Zealand, overseas? Well, the priorities about why we dined out and why we socialized and spent money has changed. And under some brand research, and we spoke about this earlier when Toni made the comment about each club is a brand, because a brand stands for a value system. A value system communicates to service, hospitality, and experience. So again, we've got the increase in technology as a priority. You know, taking care of the environment is really important. The provenance of food, paying your staff, paying your employers, being a good citizen in business. Have great corporate values, communicate your workforce balance, how you employ people from all genders, walk of life, etc. Good value for money. We've had so many people, 1 million people being unemployed at the minute. Value has never before been such a marketable commodity. And that value can be a cup of coffee that you're given 5 coffees instead of 6 as a reward card. It can be buy one, get one free. Steve talked about all the value propositions, and I'm going to show you some of those in a moment, from kids eat free to upsizing and giving genuine offers to say to people, welcome back, come back in safety. You have to give your members a reason to come back to the club, and you need to communicate that. We are in hospitality, and we can communicate it because we have a product that people want and what they value. There's been a decline in other attributes. Again, atmosphere is important. Well, that atmosphere is different from hygiene. People are looking for a hygienic environment that's well managed, is contactless, and again, giving people choice is important, but it doesn't have to be 40 to 60, 80 menu items. It has to be about giving people choice, so you avoid the menu fatigue of members coming back more than once or twice a week. You have to think about that customer, that member of your club, the customer, their visitor. If you're going to have a visitor, obviously they need to sign up as a member, if that's the case, under your regulations at the present time. But look at the age group of your member. How do I communicate with this lady? How old is she? What mechanism is she using? Got a tablet, got a mobile phone, got an email? Just give her a call and inform her of the specials, the promotions. Like was mentioned earlier, a phone call is a connecting way of making people feel welcome and part of something bigger. Keeping training staff to think about safety, training staff to think about compliance, and training staff to give reassurance to customers every time that we're welcoming you back, but these are the terms and conditions. Food will always be the backbone of business. Don't worry about your cafes and your restaurants and your bars and your bistros all filling up. They will come back. The customer is eager to get back. I look at the country towns in Victoria, where I am at the minute, and I visited 4 country towns over the last weekend. I did 3 blogs on how well they were managed. 10 people in each room, 3 tables out on the street. These are the promotions. These are the queuing times. This is when you pay, and this is when you arrive, and this is when you leave. People are prepared to be flexible when the ground rules are communicated and the safety factors are well and truly stated. Food and beverage will drive the economy. People will come back, they've got money, they want to spend it, they want to socialize. We just have to walk and jump through the hoops until we get the situation sorted out, that there's either going to be a vaccine, or we're going to be able to have procedures that keep us safe through personal commitment to the environment in which we're in. Club and their food and beverage operators just need to continue to find short and medium-term strategies in order to drive their turnover. And again, maximizing areas that you've got. Look at your courtyards, open them up. Look at your larger function spaces, break them down into smaller areas internally. A family of 6, a group of seniors from 2 different households or whatever get together, create environments where people can sit down, enjoy and work together. Ensure that the meet and greet is correct, all the things that were spoke about before, and explain the big picture. Put it on your website, put it on your welcome statement, and make sure that every person is not only met at the front door with the sign-in procedure, but with the courtesy that we're here and we're open and we want to make you welcome and safe. We want to communicate the word, as I said earlier. What can we do? We can put on the promotions, the cocktails, the dessert menu. We can give discounts. We can give value meals. We can buy one, get one free. There's so many memberships. The City of Melbourne has just announced this morning that $50 million on a 20% off campaign will kickstart 14 suburbs in inner Melbourne, called the 20% off campaign. It is a direct reflection of what happened in the UK in August when they said, eat out to help out. The campaign that ran of getting 50% off your food bill. It was successful, and many of the cafes and restaurants in the UK and Ireland have continued that well beyond the rebate from the government. So think of ideas. Melbourne City Council have had to do it. It's well communicated. It's been on the media today. It's going to be on Instagram, and you have to give people a reason to come back. Clubs are amazing magnets. They have transformed so much. Their designs, their food, their management, their campaigns, their commitment to the community. People love their clubs. We just have to walk through the hoops to get them back again so we can welcome all our members back safely. Thank you very much.
Francis, comprehensive as always and very informative. Thank you for that outstanding presentation. We'll just get you to shut down the share screen. But that was very good. Thank you very much indeed. Our fourth presenter today will be new to our members in the RSL and Services Clubs, because we're very pleased to welcome a new corporate partner to our association, Merris Food Equipment. And their presenter today is Michael Brick, and Michael will outline more about what Merris Food Equipment offers and how it can help clubs rebuild their catering businesses. Thank you, Michael.
Thanks, Gary. You've got my screen up there? Okay. So thanks, Gary. Thanks for having us and having us as a part of your association. And thanks to the other presenters. Really insightful information there. I personally took a lot out of that. So thank you. I think the first thing I want to talk about today, or just touch on, is how important food is. You know, food is core to the human experience. You know, at its very basic, you know, it's a survival instinct, and it does make it an instinct. But it's more than that. It's about emotion. You know, every time we think about when we've celebrated things with our friends and our family and the people that are closest with us, food is a really core component of that. And so it links it on an emotional level, and that's why it's so important to get food right at our venues, is because, you know, it becomes an unconscious or a subconscious thing for our patrons, that when they feel comfortable and connected and safe, and they link all those things back to the venue, and that was the experience. And so it's up to us to give them those feelings and that experience. The problem has been in the past and certainly in the current days, we have COVID and we have restricted numbers of people and that coming through, is the cost of offering that food, the overheads that come with that. We obviously have meal times where we can get a rush of people and be profitable, and that's where, you know, Sid and your contract catering and your kitchens are going to work well. But our venues are open for long hours. Our patrons are coming through the doors, and so we want to try and offer them that experience at all hours that we're there. So we'll recall back to old days, and maybe there's a venue around that still does it, that might load up a pie warmer with 6 pies at the start of the night. Some nights we'll throw all 6 pies into the bin and haven't sold any, and other nights we'll sell all 6 in the first hour, and we've got nothing else to offer. And at the end of the day, the experience to the customer has just been a pie, which is not that great. You know, or other venues where chef's finished for the day and he shuts everything off in the kitchen, but he leaves one of the deep fryers going, and you know, the old days of having a bartender come and cook the product in the deep fryer is over. You know, health and safety and a whole bunch of other reasons dictate that we can't do that anymore. So the future is about clubs having the ability to offer food from more spaces or more areas within their club. And the challenge and the how we do that is more technologically advanced equipment that can do that without the need for creating multiple kitchens or areas, and we can get our existing bar staff and staff within the venue to operate that. So today, sort of giving you a big introduction and rundown on what we do and what we can help the association members to do. I'm going to give you some of our more popular concepts that we would help our customers and venues to create in their space, and hopefully, you know, you can learn from some of those. So my slides aren't ticking over. Hang on a second. There we go. So the first thing we're going to kick off with is to talk about fried food. That's our most popular type of food that we get asked for, and that venues put in a non kind of kitchen environment. And why? I think, you know, it's probably obvious. It's a popular food. It's tasty. You know, Toni mentioned that it's a comfort food. It's when we go out to venues, we want to experience a good time. You know, we might not be restricting the calorie intake at that point in time. We want to increase the experience and have a good time. So fried food plays a really important role there. So how do we do that outside of the kitchen? You know, traditionally you'd have an open deep fryer, but we'd look at something like a perfect fryer, which is a fully self-contained unit, filters all the air inside the unit. The oil is completely away from the operator, and it's all automated. So it means our existing bar staff can operate something like this without any real skill. And the quality and the consistency of the food that comes out is dictated by the machine, not by an operator. So we talk about low cost, you know, food, perfect fry or fried food, pardon me, has really great margins. So anywhere from, you know, up to 70+% margins on that type of food. Quick to cook, 2 to 5 minutes is going to have any of that done. No waste. You know, Toni mentioned about the importance of waste and keeping those costs down. Customer orders it. We cook it, you know, we take the money and we cook it, so there's no waste with an option like this. An extensive menu, so we can create, you know, a really broad ranging menu out of the one piece of equipment. You know, chicken, fish, calamari, wedges, chips, it's just an endless list. We talked about having any staff member to be able to operate it, so those overheads are down. You want to talk about that offering that experience, and also the objective of venues changes, and it changes from one venue to another, but more than that, it can change from one space or one experience with you know, multiple places within the same venue. So if you think, for example, a sports bar, we've got people, you know, having a punt and can get quite busy, and you know, might be a bit more raucous. We might go for a real simple kind of food offer. You know, might be a takeaway tray where we're not washing any dishes. It's really simple, sharing food, possibly a lower cost point to make it easier and that end. But you could compare that in the same venue. We might have a gaming room. We might have a high rollers section where we could possibly even be using the same food, but we dress it up nice. We put on a nice plate. You know, the picture here, we've got some lettuce leaves, we might garnish it, might put a ramekin of sauce or something else to go with it. Suddenly the food cost isn't much different, but the level of experience, you know, that we achieve with that for the patron is very different. And probably just to bring that home, I've got 2 examples. Craig recently installed Perfect Fry, his objective was he wanted to continue to give the patrons the experience of food and that offer, but he wanted to drop his overheads with less people coming through, and those costs, he needed to bring them down. So he was able to actually reduce his kitchen hours altogether, which has obviously given him some significant reductions in labour costs. For him, that's around $4.5 grand, which is a great result. So without even selling any food, he's achieved, you know, a great objective, and he hasn't sacrificed that experience of his patrons in any way. You know, the other example here we've got is Bentley RSL. They've got 2 venues now. They've got a unit in each, and they brought it in initially to bring that you know, that offer to the customer in terms of food and make it easy. But beyond that, now they've recognised the further advantage of being able to claim redemption loyalty points back. And the reason why food's so good is because the cost is really low, and not having to purchase things in, and at the same time it gives that level of experience back. So different objectives, but you know, using the same concept. Pizza, we get a lot of inquiries still for pizza. There's kind of pros and cons to pizza. I think that it's still one product. So if you're not doing anything else, pizza is still pizza. You can have multiple flavors if you like, but we're still kind of becoming known for one thing there. So you probably need to do that well, or it's a good add-on to something else. There's lots of ways of doing it. You know, a conveyor oven like the one that we've shown there is quite automated, and it's good to be able to put a pizza in on one end. It's going to come out cooked, you know, the other end not going to overcook or anything else. But, you know, really probably not the best for a busy bar in a tight space or dark areas. You know, you probably need a designated area to set that up. And, you know, so there's a bit more space in that that should be dedicated to that. The other unit we've got is a really small self-contained deck oven there. We've still got stones in there. It's going to cook a great pizza. The quality is not going to be compromised in any way. Much safer, a lot less heat coming out into the space and take up a much smaller area. I think in terms of pizza, what we really need to consider is the product, the raw product, where it's coming from. So you could have your kitchen makeup pizzas in their time, and then store that in a fridge down at the space where you want to cook it. That's a good option. Sometimes not always an option if you've got outside caterers that run your kitchen or that's leased out. So there's some really good suppliers of pre-made pizza. Generally, they're not national. You want to find some more localized suppliers, but they are out there. They're really good. You'll give up a little bit of margin often when you're buying it in. But, you know, pizza's still quite good. You pay anywhere from kind of $3 to $5 for either making it or buying it in, and, you know, $8 to $12 for a pizza over the bar or in it, you know, as a snack is really achievable. I want to talk a little bit about speed ovens, because they're becoming more popular, and we'll see them in a lot of different venues. A lot more flexible. You can do quite a few more foods. So you could do a pizza in there as well as toasted sandwiches and a range of other products. You can do fried food. Quality isn't as good, and the volumes, you know, takes a bit to be able to keep up with what a fryer could. But certainly flexible, gives a lot of options, and very automated. You know, your investment is a bit more. You're looking anywhere from kind of $8,000 to $18,000, depending on what you're going to go with there. But again, it's really process driven, and we can really, you know, create some standard process to make it easy for any staff member to operate that. Then on the flip side of that, you know, we've got a sandwich toaster there. You could, you know, if you just wanted to get into the market a little bit in terms of food and create that experience in different spaces, you know, sub $1,000 will get you a sandwich toaster. And we've been doing some work with some venues of late where we've got a concept with a bag, so you can have pre-made sandwiches in the fridge in a bag, and in fact you can cook the product on the press in that bag, so there's no touching of the food, there's no contamination there. It's, you know, really safe and straightforward, and no cleaning or anything else involved with the toaster. So there's lots of options there that we can help with to improve the process and make it easy and straightforward. The final one I want to mention here is, you know, as humans and consumers, we eat with the eyes. So when we see food in front of us, there's certainly the ability to upsell there with, you know, you can have your cakes and all those other type of things when you've got a refrigerated display cabinet like this. You can display lots of, your pre-toasted sandwiches or your pre-cooked pizza, any of those products. When we can see the food on display, we have a good level of confidence in terms of what we're going to get, particularly that it's outside of the kitchen. So sometimes there's a bit of skepticism around, freshness, particularly with COVID, and some of our other speakers have talked about that a little bit. So when we can make it nice and clear and a bit more, sanitized, then that'll help some of those clients. So often a sandwich display like this is associated with a cafe or a coffee shop within a venue, big with coffee, and there's going to be some seating around, and people will take some time, to enjoy that. So they're probably the main things I wanted to introduce and flag there, and it just shows we can do food and offer the experience without necessarily incorporating a whole bunch of overheads, or in some cases we can cut our overheads by snipping some kitchen hours, in quieter times to suit. So thank you.
Michael, thank you very much. It's very comprehensive, and again, what you're offering there is a much more flexible and responsive product, so that the venues can cater for club members who do come at odd hours and at different times when the kitchens, it's too difficult to have the kitchens all fully operational, but you still have patrons who are looking for something to eat. And if we're responsible hosts, we need to provide food for them if they're having a drink or two in the venue. So thank you very much. And thank you to all of our presenters today. You've provided some great information and some very comprehensive presentations and lots of information for our participants who've been watching us. And for any of you who wish to make contact with our presenters, on the screen now I have the email address and mobile phone numbers for each of our presenters today. Remembering, of course, that Toni Clarke is in New Zealand, and therefore it's a international phone call. But she can, of course, respond to emails. And Steve Sid is based here in Sydney. Francis, his email address and mobile phone number. And Michael Brick from Merris Food Equipment is very easily available as well. If you wish to follow up with any of our presenters today, please make note of their mobile phone numbers or their email addresses. Our webinar in 2 weeks' time is on the topic of re-engaging with your community, and it's about trying to look at how we rebuild that confidence in our venues and encourage our customers to come back and to re-engage with us and to know that they will be safe and well looked after. So I hope that you'll be able to look out for that notice of that webinar when it comes forward in 2 weeks' time. And I remind you all that all of our webinars have been recorded, and if you visit our website, rslservicesclubs.com.au, you will be able to find every webinar recording available for you to watch, including this one from today will be loaded up tomorrow on our website, and you'll be able to have access to it then. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your participation, and thank you to our 4 excellent presenters. I very much appreciate the wonderful information and details that you've provided us today, and I appreciate your involvement and support for our clubs. Thank you, and good afternoon.